Welcome back to the political shit show of French politics.
And never was this name more appropriate than tonight.
We're recording on the night of the second round of the parliamentary elections of 2022 for the French Parliament. And as a side note, we're also recording on the day the Andalusian elections are being conducted. So we have news from two different fronts.
All right, so as we discussed in the last episode, this year had a quite tense parliamentary election with a lot of stake and potential upheavals. 5 years ago, after Emmanuel Macron's first election, it had been Républicain En Marche, so centrist liberal sweep. They had won more than 300 seats out of 577, coupled with 30 seats from their centrist allies. They had a very solid majority, and this allowed Emmanuel Macron to have basically registering chambers and a parliament that was at his beck and call. Now we have a very different configuration. So there are three huge information from early polls. So first is that Emmanuel Macron lost his absolute majority, and not only did he lose it, and even with his allies in the Ensemble, together coalition, he doesn't get an absolute majority. So he's going to have to compose with other groups, probably the Conservatives. The second information is that the coalized left did succeed in their original bet. So they have progressed. They are close to 150 seats. So each of the four components is going to have a full parliamentary group, with La France Insoumise set to be the main opposition group. And the third event of the evening is the shocking seismic expansion of the Rassemblement National, Front National extreme right group, because they have been bumped to 90 parliament members, that the biggest that they've ever had in the previous mandate, and for most of the Fifth Republic they had less than 10 parliament members. So they have multiplied by close to 10 their numbers, even more. It's insane. It's very shocking. It's a bit of a disgrace for French politics, to be honest. And yeah, I guess it can be heard. I'm really upset with this result, and I know I'm not the only one tonight.
And it's shocking. We have opened right in front of us the chart of the parliament, and I remember in the last parliamentary elections that I was somewhat reassured and happy to see that that Front National actually got a thrashing, right, in the previous one. It was one of the new lights of hope for the decrease of the acceleration of the extreme right in Europe, no, or the ethno-nationalist right advances in Europe. Marine Le Pen's bad results in the previous parliamentary was for some naive observers like myself some signals of hope. But now seeing this chart and seeing how brutally it's 10 times more, it's brutal.
At least it's a shock. Yeah, the thing is with our two-round system has a lot of problem, but one of the advantages, at least, is that for a great big while, this two-round system created a real glass ceiling for the far right, because in the second round, if you had a far right candidate and any other candidate. There was this notion of the so-called Republican Front, and because having an elected Front National was a turn-off for so many people, people would vote for the other candidates, even if it was not from their own political leanings. And this notion of Republican Front was what Emmanuel Macron very keenly exploited to be elected twice, because his whole very cynical but very effective strategy was to boost the Front National enough that they go to the second round, but then call on the Republican Front and secure an election in the second round, because people would rather vote for La République En Marche, Renaissance, than the Front National. And this logic just exploded tonight, and it's scary in a way, because we cannot even count on this. And of course, we need to see to really analyze this phenomenon. We need to wait to see where the Front National candidates were elected and against whom in particular. But one thing is sure is that there is a huge responsibility of the political class, and not limited to, but especially the Macronists, because for a very long time they have pushed the Front National to make sure to have this face-to-face with the Front National and secure their election. But that's a rule that has been seen in history time and time again, is that if you push the far right for electoral calculation, at the end of the day, it only benefits the far right, and we can see it in the workings here. And another thing that really played up is that the very short second round campaign, because there was only 1 week between the first round and the second round, because the Macronists were really scared of losing
taking over, no?
Of the nukes, yeah, exactly. They really pushed this discourse of the nukes.
Red Scare.
Yes, the Red Scare. The nukes is the far left, and the Front National is the far right. They are both the extremes. They were trying to dress themselves up as the only reasonable solution, but what they did was not to make the Republican Front call to say. They eventually got there, I mean, after a while, but there were 61 districts where the nukes was again the Front National. And in most of these districts, they said that they did not want to encourage people to vote against the Front National. They told people to vote blank or not to vote at all. And I saw an early post here saying that in this duels of Front National against nukes, 70% of Macronist voters didn't go to vote. So yeah, one of the, I mean, again, there will be a lot of time for extended analysis, but there is a huge responsibility of the neoliberal political class that pushed the far-right agenda to further their own, and that just see this strategy now coming to bite them in the ass, because that's exactly what's happening. And it is such a disgrace on the French political system and political class, and it's and it makes the positive aspect of having a renewed left, because this election was definitely the left. Up until tonight, it was the left's election. They had been the only one campaigning. They did a very good campaign. They brought up issues of social inequality, of climate change, and necessity for ecological planification on the front line, and they did quite a good performance, even if it was not enough to take over the parliament. But tonight the big subject and the big discussion is this explosion of the far right in the parliament, and how they are entering the parliament in strength and in numbers, and it's going to have huge consequences on the political life that we cannot even fathom at this hour.
Ballpark, what we can see is the nukes are collecting a third of the vote, approximately, no? Or
Yeah, definitely.
a third of the parliament. They are getting those seats, and almost a bit less than twice what Front National does, no?
Yeah, exactly. And in the previous parliament, the whole of the left, so the added had 60 seats, and now they are close to 150.
150.
So they have almost double.
Only the Nubes.
Only the news, but they have almost doubled their numbers. The Green Party, who didn't have any parliament representation in the previous mandate, now are going to have a group of their own. We'll probably discuss it in another discussion, but there are some very good figures.
180 I see here. No, 170 I see here as the
170. Okay, so it's
the Nubes plus the other left candidates.
Yeah, but other left, some are anti-Nubes dissidents, so so they probably won't add up. But even the Nubes in itself is 150 seats, so they have more than doubled the presence of the left in the parliament. And in the previous mandate, there were only 17 France Insoumise parliament members, and even these small numbers. Coming from an interview with some République En Marche parliament member, they say even with such a small number, they managed to be the grain of sand in the machinery, and they managed to just to really stall our efforts sometimes. So such a big group, it's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. And if the Front National hadn't exploded so much, it would be a great day for the left. But this result of the Front National, which is also going to come in force and also is going to be able to shape the assembly, and this kind of number, it means that they will have their own group, that they will have their own employee, parliamentary assistant. It means that they're going to get a huge funding because, as I said, the parliament members and the parliamentary groups are funded with public money, and this kind of numbers. They're going to get also some huge funding and capacity for nuisance at the very least. And again, what it says of the current mindset of the population, and especially that the Macronists really prefer to favor far right vote for fear, or that the so-called Republican barrage, it was against the left in this election. That's the general summary of it. It's exactly it. And again, there are historical precedent of the neoliberal bourgeoisie plopping up fascists and having rather and supporting the fascists instead of the left. That represents a greater threat for us. But it's very unpleasant to see here in 2022 with the kind of crisis that we have looming ahead.
I know that the picture is quite different, or the circumstances are quite different. But in Spain, the equivalent to Front National are the perfect allies, not in the social, let's say, because they are too aberrant or too troll. What they do is trollitics, no, the troll politics. But
we're talking about Vox, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but economic-wise, they are pretty much on the orbit. They are pretty much a good ally for the Partido Popular, and they will always favor the aristocracy and wealth generation and low cost employment. So that's a piece. What I'm seeing here as well is that the Marinization of Front National has worked. What I mean is that let's make it human, and let's drop the Le Pen, and let's take pictures of her with her cats and put that front and center and make it all about Marine just cares about French and the French spirit, like her whole cast. No?
Oh yeah, the normalization process. I mean, it was very long, and it had its and it had its proponents and opponents in the Front National, and there was a whole discussion. But here tonight, it is very clear, with no ambiguity, the normalization policy of the Front National works. It's it's a slam dunk. It worked, and again, what is shocking is that Marine went with normalization and showing a more streamlined version of the Front National. But again, the Macronists and the neoliberal really played it up as well, saying that for decades there was this notion that the Front National was outside of Republican institution, because it was a party funded by neo-Nazis, because it was the respectable front of the neo-Nazis and the fascists, but their roots were also anti-parliamentary, which is why they usually did very well in the presidential election, but not so much in local and parliamentary elections. So yeah, the strategy paid off. That's there's nothing more to it.
Yep. It seems like they have 85 as of.
Yeah, it's still an estimate. We'll have
as of right now.
We will have the full numbers tomorrow, but yeah, it's tough to discuss apart from an immediate gut reaction.
But that's what we wanted. That's what I wanted to get your hot take on the results. I'm going to just do a quick browse over the Andalusian one. No, for our international friends, Andalusia is the biggest region in Spain, population wise, I believe, and it's one of the representative, or one of the most Spanish, let's say, spaces or Spanish identifying spaces, communities in the nation. No? Here the picture is a bit less bleak on the extreme right part, because they, compared to the previous election in 2018, Vox only has 2 more parliamentaries, which is good, I think, because one of the scenarios was that Vox just became a powerhouse in that parliamentary space, and what we're seeing here, it's a swing back. No, the Partido Popular, which is the conservative traditional right coalition, has absolute majority. I think with 56 seats, they will probably govern without even having to do a lot of dealings with the extreme right. So it is sad, because Andalusia was one of the bastions of the left, and it was a socialist space for decades on end. But it's true that the corruption and the scandals from the ruling left in Andalusia were just all over the place. Like, after 2 decades plus, and it being not, let's say, an integrity left coalition, but more the center left, mainstream center left coalition, there were too many issues to not to fall. No, so yeah, that's a picture.
Okay, to finish on a lighter note, if we have a couple of minutes, in spite of everything, I still have a small consolation rendition of the Schadenfreude Awards tonight.
Please.
So several of Macron's ministers were defeated, so technically they are supposed to resign. They are supposed to resign, but we never know. We're talking about Macronists, so they are very good at reneging on commitment. But among the defeated, so one of the big name is someone called Richard Ferrand. He used to be the president of the parliament, and he was one of those who said, "Oh, but the far right and far left is exactly the same." He was defeated. Christophe Castaner, who used to be Minister of Police and who was one of the first architects of heavy repression against the Gilets jaunes, was also defeated. Stanislas Guérini, who was the leader of La République En Marche and newly minted minister, was also defeated. And last but not least, Amélie de Montchalin. Yes, this is a particle name. She was the new minister for the environment and really greenwashing incarnate, let's just say. And she made one of the most violent campaigns against the NUPES, saying that it's that the NUPES, the left coalition, only wanted chaos, and that it was anarchy, and that it was anarchists disguised as red green coalition. And she's been defeated as well. So as to say that being outrageous demonization doesn't sell necessarily in the end. So small consolations, but we'll take what we can in the current situation.
Well, and on the positive side as well, the news are that we're being renewed. This podcast is being renewed for a season 2. No, this scandal of the far right seems to promise a new season of commentary and hopefully a time in which we can learn a lot, so we don't repeat our mistakes too often or too blatantly. No.
Oh, it's definitely going to be interesting times, because it's also going to ripple in a lot of international politics issues. So yeah, we'll be on set and we'll keep on discussing the fallout from this very strange election year.
So thank you, Amor. I'm sorry it's been a rough ride tonight, but I'm looking forward to keep on discussing with you.
Yes, me too. Thank you.